Why, hello there and welcome back. It seems I've found a garden of lavender. Lavender is a plant that is dearly beloved by the English, but it seems not everyone understands our deep admiration for it, so I thought we could have a stroll together while I tell you of its story. So without further ado, let's continue onwards, shall we? Lavender is thought to first originate from the Mediterranean region, although other species of lavender have since been discovered around Europe. And speaking of Europeans, lavender was a favourite amongst the Romans, who commonly used it within their medical practices, where it was used to treat wounds. This is because lavender is a natural anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. It helps accelerate tissue building to make for a fast recovery, increase collagen production to help with scarring, and is excellent at keeping bacterial or fungal infections away thanks to its antibacterial nature. It was heavily used as part of their hygiene too. I think it's safe to say how obvious it is as to how much the Romans loved their bathhouses, and lavender was a common theme among them, both within public and private ones. As previously mentioned, it is antibacterial, so that made excellent for disinfecting the bathwater, so it stayed nice and fresh. Ironically enough, the name lavender is actually derived from the Latin word lavare, which means to wash in English. The cost of lavender for 16 ounces was 100 denarii, which back then was a whole month's worth of a farmer's wages. So altogether I do ponder as to how much this field would have cost. It was furthermore praised by its pleasant scent and for what a soothing effect it had on oneself, and more importantly, how it would deter insects. Lavender back then was additionally sold within the form of a perfume, where it would be sprayed within their hair, clothes, curtains, the walls of their home, and even on the occasion military flags. Now, the Romans were not the first to turn lavender into perfume, but whenever someone mentions lavender in perfume, the first people who tend to come to mind are the Egyptians, one of the first users of the plant. Similar to the Romans, they too used it to keep insects at bay and for its divine aroma. But did you know it was used within their mummification process? Ancient records reveal how workers would infuse shrouds with lavender before the wrapping, as it was believed to help aid within the preservation of the royal. In 1922, when British archaeologist Howard Carter and his team first discovered Tutankhamun's tomb, just like any other tomb, there was in fact plenty of treasures, as one would expect, alongside, you guessed it, lavender. Traces of it were found inside of jars where it was noted as being part of a burial custom. Aside from the preservation of royals, Egyptians saw it as a form of protection, warding off evil and those who may dare try disturb the tombs. Speaking of the British, how did this plant find its way to England? It is believed to have found its way long ago thanks to the Romans, during their invasion in 43 AD. That means lavender has been in England for a little over 2,000 years, and to think of how it is such a big staple within my culture, the uses my ancestors have for it seem endless. In the Middle Ages, it was kept under top-notch secrecy by the holy workers of monasteries such as nuns, monks and so forth. They learned of its many benefits and kept copies of ancient manuscripts alongside journals of their own findings tucked away for only their eyes. Under an edict of the Holy Roman Empire in 812 AD, monasteries in England were charged with growing certain plants. Therefore, by law, you had to officially document which ones were being grown, and lavender was, of course, on the list. Thanks to this, we have an old document that reveals lavender was grown at Merton Abbey in Mitcham, England, back in 1301, where it was used to raise money for King Edward I. Years later, when King Henry VIII ruled over, he dissolved many monasteries in both England and Wales, and in doing such, lavender was then moved to domestic gardens, where ladies of the manor came up with all sorts of uses for it, but it does not stop there. Continuing on with royals, Queen Elizabeth I was a strong worshipper for it, and deeply encouraged the growth of lavender farms. She would often use it within tea to help treat her frequent migraines and as a perfume too. Another strong admirer of it was Queen Victoria, who would pay to have large shipments delivered to her. You may remember when I dedicated an episode to one of both her and my own favourite gemstones, Whippy Jet. I shall leave that episode within the description below in case you're curious, but continuing on. Lavender during the Victorian era became far more grand than ever, and due to this, English-made lavender products became known and sought after worldwide. But there was such a high demand, increasing at rapid speed for it, that the very production of lavender in England almost died out. There is a list of just some of the many ways it has been used throughout England. So far we have, but are not limited to, medicine. Lavender was known as a cure-all, therefore you could find it within almost every household, especially in the Victorian era. It was said to help soothe stomach problems, ease migraines and headaches, commonly when placed in tea, just like Queen Elizabeth did. On top of that, it was used by doctors to heal major wounds and injuries, along with to treat lice and protect against disease. Just like the Romans, lavender became a big part of our hygiene routines for both the scent and for how it kept bothersome insects at bay. We made lavender soap and many elixirs and oils for bathing. We also turned it into a perfume, and fact for you all, lavender is actually one of the oldest known ingredients within English perfumes, but wearing it as a perfume was simply not enough for us. Oh no. Ladies would take a small bag and fill it with lavender before placing said bag between their breasts. This was done commonly by single ladies, for we saw lavender as a symbol for love. This is because lavender has been a main ingredient within ancient English love spells, dating all the way back centuries. So by placing it there when a lady would speak to a gentleman she admired with the intention of seducing him, as he stood close to her he would breathe in the aroma and thus be seduced. But no, it does not stop there. Ladies would also have handfuls of lavender sewn onto their underskirts, so the scent would flow as they walked. Fresh lavender was dried and placed into bags to then be kept within our wardrobes. We used it to wash walls and furniture, as well as we turned it into a furniture polish too. And if you think we don't already have enough uses for it, we infused it into our food too, often in the form of sweets. Could go on, but I think I've bored you long enough. So all of this obsession from my ancestors began all thanks to the Romans. If you so happen to find yourself in England, please do pay a lavender field a visit, or please do try some lavender products. My personal favourite is lavender honey, which I have been eating a lot of lately for breakfast on my toast. Anywho, it seems we've reached the end of the episode. Thank you for joining me, and ta-ta for now.